Normally I wouldn't be resorting to such Spartan measures of videotaping myself, but I'm just flabbergasted. This fucking game. This game. It's good. And kicking my ass.
I missed a lot in the 90s. The late years of high school, gaming wasn't really a priority for me, so an entire generation, the whole 16-bit era, right by. Had an NES before that, and then I jumped to PlayStation when it came out and never looked back until a couple years ago. And Super Nintendo and Genesis were brand new to me. There were dozens of games that I never even heard of, let alone played. That Ruled is all about stuff that was awesome. And just because I didn't know about it doesn't mean that it didn't rule.
Both the Terminator and Robocop franchises have had spotty entries into the ring of gaming. I remember a PC game for the Terminator that was good in concept but poorly executed. All the NES games for the Terminator were handled horribly. Robocop had an excellent arcade game, however, with a passable port to the NES. Beyond that, I gave the whole thing a pass after a few bad rentals.
As my interest in retro gaming grew over the last few years, one name that kept popping up was Robocop Versus Terminator. I had no choice but to check it out.
Now, I don't believe in emulators much, so all my gameplay is on a real console, so let's pop this bad boy in. The first thing we see is a comic book style cutscene. It's succinct and serves to set up the premise. Humans in the future find out that Robocop is responsible for Skynet's rise and go back in time to stop it from happening. Skynet in turn sends Terminators to stop the humans. All this, plus Detroit? Sign me up. Right away, it smacks of the Robocop arcade game, and that's a damn good thing. I've read reviews that complain about sluggish controls, but I think a better term to describe it is authentic. Robocop lumbers. He weighs a ton. He doesn't run. So I'd say that you really feel like you're controlling Robocop. Thankfully, the ammunition is unlimited, or at least it seems to be. The first level's very generous with one-ups and items, as if it knows you're going to be taking your time figuring this shit out. Plus, you're well rewarded for exploration, so taking the time to look around each level is well worth the effort. The first stage is in, well, Detroit at night. If you don't explore, you can walk right through the... shit. Okay, I won't make that mistake again. Fuck! Once you get used to a few obstacles, you can navigate them easily, but it's imperative that you be aware of them.
As you're playing these stages over and over again, you get a false sense of security because you're familiar with it. It doesn't help you much in later stages because the difficulty ramps up so exponentially. So memory isn't the issue. The issue is it's just harder to play.
Speaking of the first stage, there's no boss to speak of. It goes right to a cutscene where you meet the protagonist, Flo. No, not that one. The second stage is the actual boss battle in ED-209. It's deceptively easy until the legs charge you. I've only managed to avoid that once. Now on to the third stage as we make our way to OCP. This level is a motherfucker. It's not that the obstacles are impossible to learn or repeat, it's that there are no checkpoints in this game. Sure, you get a 4-digit password for each level and unlimited continues, but that's it. Honestly, given the password system, I'd rather have limited continues and at least one checkpoint per level.
Speaking of passwords, 4 digits, isn't that nice? They finally figured it out.
In this level, you see Robocop assaulting Skynet, just going through a bunch of T-800 endoskeletons like it's nothing. And it looks like, in this case, I'm running away from a lot of them, but this is probably my 12th playthrough on it, and I found that going through and killing each and every T-800 that wasn't directly in my path just got me killed faster. There are plenty of power-ups in this stage, but there not until much later, so it makes sense to try and get through it as quickly as you can. And I played this level over and over and over and over and over. And it wasn't amounting to much. So I opted to go ahead and use the password and go to the next stage, which was just fucking weird. It looks like I'm in a hunter-killer, and I'm just making a guess because I have no fucking idea, because when you do use the password, you don't get to see the cutscenes. And after playing this over and over and over and over and over, I come to find out that the only strategy that seems to work is if I just go in a circle and let the rounds lead into the T-800s and do the reverse to avoid theirs. It's really cheap, but it's the only way I could get through the whole thing. It's one of those stages where you have to shoot so many enemies in, there's no time limit, but your life is very limited. So I played this a bunch, and it got really, really tedious. I eventually did beat it, though.
I gotta say, though, those T-800 endoskeletons are fucking cheap cocksuckers.
Fuck you, asshole.
Fuck you, buddy.
Bad language makes for bad feeling.
You stay out of this.
I haven't finished.
So I got sick of that. So I put in the password to go to the boss battle, which was weird.
This boss battle, it looks like a modified HK from the original Terminator film. Pretty straightforward, overhead enemy, and you're just going through. And at first I didn't realize it was a boss battle. I thought that you just had to get through. Then they gave me these seeker missiles, and it was like, oh, I guess I have to kill it. And I went through this thing so many times trying to figure out the best way to attack. Do I get through and get the seeker first? Do I take hits? Is there a strategy? No. This really does demonstrate the fatal flaw in the password system, in that the password system, when you start with a chapter, it only starts you with the pistol, albeit a powered-up pistol, but that isn't saying much. Ultimately, you're just left with your wits and no information about how to go about what you're doing. And invariably, you're not going to get what you need in that level. You're really better off playing straight through, which is damn near impossible, unless you have Zen patience.
Now, I did make it to the next stage, but that thing is just so fucking hard. You're just going to have to see it for yourself, because it's ridiculous. I have not made it to the end of the game yet. I don't know if I ever will. But that's kind of my point. This game is so good, it doesn't matter that it is one of the hardest things I've ever played. It's fun. It is fun. That, my friends, is what makes this game rule.
I haven't finished.